It's not like I had bruises that I could see with my eyes, right? It's like all in my head. I was struggling a lot with what I understood happened and what I believe. And even now, I still question it.
Compared to the actual stress of the pandemic and the unknowns of that time, what was most stressful for me was how he was reacting and how he treated me.
29 survivors of intimate partner violence, or IPV, who were young women or mothers from the Greater Toronto Area, were interviewed about their experiences of violence and housing security during COVID-19. Participants' stories showed that stable housing was a consistent need and how abusive partners use coercive control to maintain power. The challenges survivors faced were amplified by the COVID-19 pandemic as stay-at-home orders forced many women and their children into close proximity with abusers, and the systems designed to help them were not prioritized. Survivors endured an increased frequency and intensity of abuse, and abusers exploited public health orders as new forms of control. Before accessing supports, survivors first must come to understand what they are experiencing. Knowledge is internal and external. It is a woman's understanding of what she is experiencing and often impacted by a lack of awareness of IPV and coercive control from those around her.
A close friend once told me when I asked for help after a violent episode, "You've got to try harder. You've got to help him."
Coercive control is the term for highly controlling behaviors that undermine a person's agency and consent through pressure, threats, and punishment for noncompliance. It leads survivors to question their reality.
He just makes me feel stuck and small. And everything was about control and is actually in order to, make me stay with him.
As survivors come to understand that what they are experiencing isn't their fault, they begin to see the effect of violence on their lives. Seeking help for IPV is difficult when in crisis, and survivors face difficult choices navigating shifting policies.
He was financially controlling, financially abusive in order to maintain the fact that he had control. So I couldn't leave because I had no resources.
So when I left for the shelter, I knew I had nothing. I knew it would be a total reliance on the system.
Housing is a fundamental determinant of health and well-being, and for survivors of IPV, it is the cornerstone of safety and stability. Yet, obtaining housing after leaving an abusive relationship is increasingly challenging. Survivors shared that they stayed in violent relationships out of concern for their children's well-being, and because there was nowhere to go or means to leave.
I got frightened. The guy was going to rent to me, but he said, "I'm not going to rent to you because you're a single mother." I had no choice. I went into a shelter.
I prayed every day. I was like, "God, please give me a place to live. I need an apartment." Because in order to go to court and tell the court that I'm able to be a fit mom, I have to have a place for my son, and I can't be telling them I live with my mom in a tiny room.
IPV is a pattern of abuse and subtle control over time, and is an ongoing threat affecting all aspects of survivors' lives. IPV can take many forms, such as coercive control, which can make it hard to identify. IPV is a gender and health equity issue with significant long-term health impacts. It is also preventable. Sharing this research, we aim to challenge mainstream stereotypes of IPV with real stories and highlight where systems can be improved to support women and children surviving intimate partner violence.